bother tempting fate there and just moved it straight on at 6-1. But we should be underway literally right now. There you go. Perfect.
And I thought this was open mode. That'll be in the fall.
Well, I know at least Chisame prefers open mode, but unfortunately not right now, not today. We're gonna do some standard. We're gonna go see the escape. And what are we gonna pick up in the escape today, Tyr?
Well, I'm always a fan of the bow. The race that we had in our first brackets yesterday, the bow was our last go mode item, and the bow can be all but 8 chests in the entire game, and only 4 of those are prior to Ganon's tower. So it was really nice to get that out of the way. Fire rod, not so bad though.
Yeah, Fire Rod, is also a really solid progression item. Definitely opens up the possibility of an early Stole Woods, which maybe the runners do or do not appreciate necessarily. They will go ahead and use some of that magic to take out those guards, and then they can pick up a refill from the pot there. But, now they're going to have to do this escape, as efficiently as possible, time-wise. Obviously, they'll have enough magic to kill things, but what they're really looking for is, as always, at least 1 bomb.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying earlier about getting randoed. One of the things that you don't want to have to go too far without is, of course, a fire source. So getting the fire rod, in addition to it being your early weapon, it's also your early fire source. And a lot of people will be comfortable doing dark rooms without the lamp. So having the fire rod basically gives them the equivalent of 2 items there.
Yeah, now Tranq doing a little bit of a detour there, just killing a few extra guards to see if he can get that bomb and not having it pay off. So this does possibly, kind of set Chisame ahead a little bit right now, but Chisame at the same time is going to have to say, I need that bomb too at some point. So, this is not really a significant deficit or anything right now, but she is dealing very well with these darts so far. Just, it's really not too hard to just incinerate them with 1 fire rod shot, but it's good to not miss.
Bomb firing with the fire rod is always a little bit extra dangerous because you have different prize pools for the green guards, the blue guards, and the rats. So you don't want to, you kind of want to spread your fire rod shots across the prize pools, but you're also can't run out of magic.
All right, well, we did pick up a power glove, and on Tranq's side, there's that first bomb drop. So Chisame should be seeing that pretty soon when he kills probably at least 1 more guard here. Tranq does appear to be slightly low on magic now compared to Chi. It's 1 extra shot, I think, that he's burned. Shouldn't be too bad as long as he doesn't, miss too many more. But we'll see how that goes. You can, of course, if you run out of magic, save and quit to get a partial refill, but boy, he won't want to do that in the middle of the escape. It's really costly.
Absolutely, and having picked up that 1 bomb, he's probably done farming at the moment, so he just needs the 1 shot for the key rat with the 4 or 5 small magic pots and escape. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Chisame maybe was only 1 green guard away from getting a bomb, and looks like he'll be saving his magic.
Yeah, we'll see if he opts to maybe throw 1 more pot at the guards in the left hallway on the way out here, or maybe he'll just fire rod them. The nice thing about the fire rod is the projectile has kind of an area of effect. It's a little bit awkward. It's hard to take advantage of all the time, but it has an area of effect where when it hits, it'll kind of spread to nearby things sometimes. And so if he shoots a fire rod shot angled properly here, he could actually hit multiple of these, but instead, gets a full magic decanter. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, magic refill is definitely nice there. Unfortunately, killed 2 green guards and didn't pick up a bomb from either of them. It might be a little bit deeper into the prize pool than I initially thought looking at Tranq's side.
Yeah, and Tranq is taking advantage of that fact that he has gotten that bomb. As you mentioned, he's not killing anything else on the way back, so this is going to allow him to catch up a little bit to Chisame. This is just how the escape works. You're going to lose a little bit of time to farm that bomb, then once you get it, you can kind of save it back. But Chisame will probably be shooting up the snake gallery here in just a moment on this next floor and seeing what he can get. And, hopefully for his sake, he'll get a bomb. Hey, there it is.
There we go. Definitely taking advantage of the combustibility of those ropes and getting all of them in a couple shots. I think that, just to make the point that they did find that the power glove and bomb farming becomes much less important once you pick up that glove. It's a very quick shortcut to get to the back of escape once you complete Kakariko and you do your first save and quit. So it becomes a little bit less of a panic situation here.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's just a nice time save rather than being vital to find that bomb, but it is definitely a little bit more optimal to come through here. Tranq being really careful to make sure he doesn't kill the wrong rat. He actually, oh boy, okay, whoo, he killed the right rat. It got a little bit crossed up there for a moment, but he was able to figure it out. Meanwhile, Chi opening those 3 chests, and unfortunately, they're not really containing anything particularly nice. There was a map, a heart container, a red rupee, so they do know that the sanctuary chest will have something, but unfortunately, they haven't got anything nice other than that fire rod, the power glove so far.
It's a little disappointing, especially when you put so much time and effort into the bomb farming, and unfortunately, that's the big downside about standard mode. You are able to basically take your first 6 minutes of the game and keep those identical between both runners, eliminate a number of chests from the gamble, but you spend so much of your time thinking about one thing, getting a bomb, farming for an item.
Well, one item they won't be farming for is the book that showed up in that sanctuary chest, so that'll provide them with some handy literacy. It proves to be a useful reference for the language of Hylia, which will be found on a couple of those tablets later on. So they'll be able to make use of that, and getting bombs from that first tree pole, well, technically second tree pole state, but the first one they do. So that'll be really nice. They do have the bombs they need for Kakariko now, and let's see what's in that lumberjack ledge.
Yeah, that's the tier 2 prize pool there. Might even be worth killing a few enemies and taking a hit of damage to trigger that one more time and get 4 more bombs.
Yeah, that's triggered by 4 kills total or more, and taking some damage, as Tyr mentioned. So you might not be able to quickly and easily get to 4 kills, especially not having any magic left after that escape. So it doesn't look like she's going to go for it, and Tranq probably won't either, but it doesn't matter because there's another pile of bombs just sitting right next to the right in the mushroom spot, and she's actually going to go even further and check out that pedestal. So right now we'll find out whether or not there's any pedestal hype in this seed.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite early game plays. Just a little piece of love there on the pedestal. When you find the book this early, and you're somebody who tends to route in Haunted Woods and Lumberjack area anyway, I absolutely love doing the pedestal check. Getting that knowledge this early in the game is invaluable.
I, on the other hand, am going to choose to view it from Tranq's angle, which is that, as you see, Tranq was able to get a pretty decent amount of advantage by just not going that, oh, I'm just kidding. He's going to do it. All right, then. Never mind. Tranq is going to go take the time sink as well. I mean, yeah, as you said, this is a good play for that knowledge. Make sure to get out of that way. But I've actually seen some cases in races where a player does head over to make this play, and it actually changes their routing in a way that hurts them. There was definitely a seed earlier in the tournament where 2 players, one player knew that it was a ped seed and the other one just did not know. And the player who didn't know it was pedestal seed ended up coming out on top. Oh, Tranq getting some bombs knocked away by that thief as well. That's not a good time for him.
The loss of the bombs is unfortunate. I do like the route that Tranq took, though, being able to exit the Haunted Woods here over at the well and dip the well first. It's a little bit faster.
All right, well, so far, nothing. Nothing at all. There's a bug net. That's not really much.
But go back to the point you were making about the pedestal. I definitely see the advantages and disadvantages there. A lot of runners like just to get all the knowledge they can. You see that with the pedestal check in this case, but that's also the same reason why some people will do a lumberjack cave check and others won't. It's interesting though, thinking that the knowledge can be a disadvantage if you let it, steer you away from an item dense pendant dungeon. Specifically because it's not a pedestal seed, that absolutely can steer you wrong. and it's up to the experience of the runner to, you know, to know that there can still be value in those dungeons, even if ultimately the pendant itself isn't value.
Yep, that is definitely a possibility. You know, it really does vary so much. Routing is such a weird thing as far as how you make those decisions. So it totally depends on the circumstances of the seed. And the circumstances of this seed, boy, there is just nothing in Kakariko so far. Both of the two, you know, most item-heavy locations had nothing in Kakariko. Now they do find the lamp in the chicken house, which really hints at that Aghanim play, huh?
Yeah, having the fire rod already, you know, makes the second fire source redundant, and the lamp in and of itself it doesn't hold too much value because, you know, both of these runners are probably comfortable with all, most if not all of the dark rooms.
Yeah, except the one where you expect that they're probably not necessarily super comfortable. That one's Aga, but hopefully that won't come into play, or hopefully it will. Depends on your perspective. Chi and Tranq actually both ended up going to pick up more bombs, so they took advantage of their knowledge that they had picked up bomb upgrades, and they went ahead and just said, you know what, I want to be set for life on these bombs. So they have tons of bombs now. They're also lacking magic, so if they go to Mini Moldorm Cave, they're going to probably need bombs for that. So, you know, a good play on both of their parts to make sure that they have that ammo. And then a good play on Chisame's part as well to make sure that he does not save and quit before picking up that Quake Medallion in that race.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a double take there. You know, a lot of people will, you know, will check that item before gambling that it's something that they're going to want to pick up. In this case, both players having to backtrack to pick up that Quake Medallion.
Yeah, I would say on average it works out to be a little faster to check first because of how frequently it's something that you don't necessarily need. But, you know, it depends on your perspective. Again, it could be something like rupees and bombs that you don't need per se, but hey, it's nice to have.
Absolutely. I think that this check in particular is something that you see vary a lot by skill level as opposed to routing preferences. The lower your skill level, the more likely something that you're going to want to pick up. New players will pick up those heart pieces and those arrow upgrades.
Yeah, whereas the more experienced players will have a lot more confidence just totally skipping out of those. Now, I like this divergence here. Chisame, following the more traditional beginning route, is continuing on to South Hyrule. We'll check out the dam, check out the Mini Moldorm Cave, etc., all those things. Getting a 10 arrow upgrade from inside the dam. Tranq, meanwhile, glove and lamp in hand, is going directly to Death Mountain.
This is interesting. I always do like to see people check Death Mountain early on. Right now, they can only get 2 items up here, but they do get the save and continue point. So regardless of whether or not they find value, they're going to have to head up here anyway, and getting back up here in the future isn't going to take them any extra time.
Yeah, and there's Spectacle Rock checks too. Unless you get Mirror as your next access to Death Mountain, the Spectacle Rock checks play well into your... what am I trying to say? They are something that you would have to go deviate off into the distance to get anyway, so it's not like a huge time cost to go do this right now and then have to potentially go back to Death Mountain again later. But Chisame doing pretty well on these bombs in this Mini Moldorm Cave. Did miss, looked like 1. And I actually missed what Tranq got from that old man, but Chisame picked up a Moon Pearl in Mini Moldorm Cave. And a bow. And half magic. Wow.
Oh, that's a lot of Mini Moldorm hype there. Half magic, you know, that's very nice with the Fire Rod being one of their weapons at the moment. Give them a much-needed magic refill. But Chisame already has 40 hours for that bow.
Oh, Tiru, did you see what was inside that Spectacle Rock?
I'm looking over at the Twitch feed now, and I am seeing those mitts.
That is a heck of a find for Tranq right now. You got to think that, of course, this DM play is one that you really want to put off a little bit for all the reasons that you just described, only being 3 items, but Tranq making the play and finding the mitts immediately. Not that it's going to take super long for Chisame to get there, but, you know, nice to have, and just get that out of the way immediately.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that Chisame would commit to like an Aga play before checking Death Mountain. Even if he picks up, the hammer at this point, that's still going to give him Dark World access, and he'll head up to Death Mountain eventually. We also saw the Ice Rod up there, so there's a lot of value. Even though the Ice Rod is one of those items that just knowing where it is it takes a lot of stress off.
Yeah, and it happens to be sitting right on the way to Turtle Rock, basically, which is really nice. So Tranq is retracing Chisame's steps heading to South Light World, but Chisame is continuing on the Eastern Palace. So Chi having the Moon Pearl, he will be able to get Dark World access once he gets that mid. And it's also theoretically possible the hammer's over here. You could argue whether or not it would be a good thing or a bad thing for him to find the hammer right now, but we'll see, I guess, what ends up happening. Back up to Sahasrana's closet has an Ether Medallion, a bottle, that's her first one, and some more bombs, so getting a refill on that mini Moleworm expedition.
Now, this will be an interesting example of, you were talking earlier about, does pendant knowledge come into play? Chisame has everything he needs to full clear Eastern Palace, pick up 3 items, but we haven't seen whether or not this is a pendant or a crystal yet. So if we get the 3 items and this is a pendant, he knows that he doesn't have, there's no reason to kill the boss.
That's a good point, and we'll have to listen to the music right here. That is a crystal dungeon because it's got the Dark World music. So there you go. Eastern Palace has a crystal of some sort. We don't know whether it's a 5/6 or not yet, as Chisame is going to explore it in its entirety. Tranq is going to pick up that bow, that Moon Pearl, that half magic, and he's going to go ahead and save and quits. He's not going to take a trip over to Ice Rod Cave, save a bunch of time that way, but miss out on the blue mail that she got there. So, these are the kind of decisions that they do save time, but also might possibly hurt you. We'll see whether or not this one does end up hurting him. It's really just about his HP count. Obviously, blue mail, not a progression item.
Yeah, I agreed. Did a map check, and Eastern's crystal and desert was there another crystal? I believe I saw.
I totally missed that, so I'm counting on you.
Yeah. Okay, all three Light World dungeons are crystals.
Alright, so that's a nice setup. It means that all those pendants are in the Dark World, which means that you have a good chance of some time-consuming dungeons being excluded from the the requirements here. We're finding out the green pendants in Thieves Town. That can be a blessing or a curse, depending on your point of view.
Yeah, it's really interesting. With the items that they currently have, they also have both runners have the ability to full clear Desert Palace as well. With that being another crystal, and the ability to get the Desert Ledge item and the Aegina's Cave item, we might just stay in the Light World for a while.
Well, Tyr, they do have the ability, possibly. There is one item that might stand in their way.
I did miss yes, it could be a Boots Lock dungeon. That is a good point. Yeah,
that would be, that's the one that always gets you, though, because you always think, like, oh, yeah, no, I got the book, I got a fire source, I got the glove, I got everything, I can do desert, and then you remember, like, momentarily, like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I even looked at the tracker, and I said gloves, fire source, entry point, I checked off all my items, I forgot boots.
We're pretty deep into Eastern Palace already, and we haven't found anything, interesting here, but got a couple chests left, 3 in total, I believe, because I don't believe we got that big key before, so it had to be here in the vanilla location. And so Chisame will trek around to go pick that up while Tranq is following suit, so he said, I'm going to do the exact same things, not going to go into the Dark World just yet, even though he does have the access now. Chisame still doesn't, as a result of not having gone to Death Mountain for the Titan's Moat, which is inside the Spectacle Rock.
Eastern is a great example of how many enemies you can just walk past in the dungeon.
I think that's a really great point, actually, and probably an underrated point as far as going faster in the game. A more novice player may be more likely to say, like, oh man, there's like an enemy nearby me, I'm gonna slash at it and try to get it out of the way. But runners of this skill level, they're just like, I don't need to do anything to that enemy, I just avoid it. That's it.
Yeah, I watched a lot of people play their their very first rando seeds. Friends that I've gotten into the game, and they'll kill absolutely everything in every room, and then you watch the top tier runners just completely walk past everything. Thieves Town is another great dungeon that's just very dense with enemies that you absolutely just walk past everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. Chisame having a little bit of struggle there in that room right before the Armos meds. Able to pull it off, though. Kind of an awkward room to do if all you have is bow.
Yeah, everyone, you're used to just coming in there and doing one sword spin to clear the room of all the popos. Finding this... I'm sick of seeing enemies that hold the items that make themselves their own deaths easier.
Yeah, that's a kind of troll thing. Not really that troll, but it's pretty funny to see. But a great execution of the Armos Mets fight by Chi, and he will now save and quit, figure out where to go for his part. Tranq, meanwhile, getting that big key, collecting a heart refill. He's down at 2. And Chi's actually going to probably Desert, looks like.
Yeah, I think at the Desert, gamble makes sense. If it is boots locked, you're still picking up one item plus the 2 outside items, and of course, gaining the knowledge that it's boots locked.
Yeah, and it will keep him away from that mid for a little bit, but that's not going to matter as long as he's staying in the light world. Obviously, there's nothing in the light world that requires the mid except for that, there's a couple portals to the dark world, but he's not headed there yet. He's focusing on the light world, so he's going to go ahead and start with Agina over here, and we'll see what is in this common troll location that, Tranq, having skipped Ice Rod Cave, I wonder if Tranq will want to also avoid this type of thing.
Yeah, from Chisame's point of view, there's 3 to 4 items over here, and possibly a crystal, whereas Death Mountain has 2 items available. So, even at the limited item density, this still makes sense. But picking up another mail upgrade, extremely valuable with only 6 hearts.
I'm just laughing about these the two like light world troll locations. The Ice Rod Cave and the Agina's Cave that nobody ever wants to do, and they have the mail upgrades. Like, those are some really nice rewards for doing those awful locations. But here we go, continuing off to the west, and finding that there's just a red rupee on that ledge, so it's what's in the dungeon that counts, not what's on the outside. It's an important life lesson there.
Yeah, Tranq having the gloves there is definitely more likely to put off those out-of-the-way locations, Ice Rod Cave and Agina's Cave. Agina's Cave will probably get routed in a little bit earlier because he has reasons to go to Desert. Ice Rod Cave, I wouldn't be surprised if we never see that or don't see it until we get Boots in the Flute, and it could be a quicker trip.
Yeah, but... Oh, cool. Okay, so a lot of information just there for Chisame. He immediately found out that Desert was boots locked because that chest had an item. It was not the big key or the small key, but boy, that item was the Cane of Samaria. So that's really nice to have, but depending on how deep Meyer or Turtle Rock are in the logic, or if they're, pendants and possibly not even needed, that won't necessarily afford him any advantage to have that right now. But it looks like Tranq is going that direction anyways, so everything that I just said is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, Chisame is going to head up to Death Mountain, pick up his mitts, but at the same time he gets his mitts, he's going to see that ice rod up there, and having both rods and the cane and 2 out of 3 medallions, you're going to be thinking, I'm just going to have to dip Turtle Rock at some point in the seed. They can't do it now, but you feel it's inevitable.
Yeah, sooner than later definitely comes to mind. So we'll see. They're looking for that mirror. They're looking for that hammer. They're looking for that hook shot. Any of those, well, any 2 of those would permit full Death Mountain access. For now, just the hook shot will allow them to east, but otherwise they have access to nothing except these couple locations. Tranq will finally get his first mail upgrade, and if he's feeling pretty confident in his execution, which as a 6-in-1 player, you've got to be pretty confident. I'm sure he'll be satisfied with blue mail for the rest of the run if that's all he gets. And oh my god, that blue Argus looks hilarious.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. You can definitely say that red mail is a nice to have, but blue is a significant difference. 50%. That's not nothing. I think we're probably going to see convergence with both of our runners heading to the Kakariko Dark World portal at about the same time.
Yeah, they've run out of everything that was available in the Light World. I mean, to both their credit, they exhausted everything available in the Light World, which meant we got to see both of them do pretty much the same route. But yeah, now she's got nothing left, so she's going to save and quit, and probably going to head to that exact portal. And we'll see whether they choose to diverge between Thieves Town and Skull, as we'll also hopefully get our first Dark World map check.
Well, this is a really interesting Dark World because we do know that Thieves Town is our green pendant. Thieves Town is a dungeon that they have the ability to go in, and they can clear that with the Cane of Samaria. They might leave an item behind in the big chest, but they can get everything else. The Skull Woods, on the other hand, they can't even clear that dungeon without a sword. So they're looking at a lot of Dark World overworld locations initially.
Yeah, so we'll see. She's actually going to detour to get that sick kid first, which is a pretty good play since he does not have the mirror. It would be inconvenient to route in later. So she's just going to get it out of the way and receive a fighter shield. Yay. But,
yeah.
I do like that point about overworld locations. Thieves Town being a pendant, you somewhat don't want to dip it right now. At the same time, it's a green pendant, so maybe you think, like, green pendant's pretty valuable. Thieves Town often has progression, but you could also just go do Skull and hope to get a sword or something. Except they're all pendants. Everything on the left side of the map is a pendant.
Yeah, Misery Mire, Skull is our red-blue pendants. I think Pendant Thieves Town is something that it's kind of a meme at this point. Pendant Thieves Town, you have to go in, but without the hammer, like I said, you're going to be leaving a chest behind, and the cane doesn't make up for a particularly fun blind fight, so they might put that off a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You'd rather have a sword, or at least Cane of Burna. That's a much easier fight. So to complete that map check, we did have the 5 Crystallist on Ice Palace, so it's Ice Palace and Hera to get access to that Pyramid Fairy, and they actually did just pick up the flippers, so they have Ice Palace access. They can just do that.
Yeah, that's another dungeon that they can get into, but not full clear until they pick up the hammer. So they have a lot of choices, but no obvious great next choice.
Yeah, and so they do diverge, as we see here. Tranq heading into Skull Woods, picking up a small key from the first chest. Chisame heading into Thieves Town, picking up a piece of heart from that first chest. So, making use on the right side, Tranq, of the silver arrows to just murder in cold blood that Gibdo there. And also picking up the second small key. So all 3 of the Skullwood small keys are in this front section of the dungeon, with the remaining one being in the pinball room that he's not going to visit. And also picking up a compass, so these items must be buried in the back here or in the big chest.
Yeah, gotta take advantage of the Cane of Samaria here to make this next room a lot easier. Here in the Palace of Darkness, our Ice Palace, there's a couple places that the Cane can just be used as a utility item. This has got to be my favorite one, though.
Yeah, this one's a really nice time save, and not only that, but the strat to do that room quickly without the Cane of Samaria is pretty challenging. Of course, it's a no major glitches type strategy where if you've done the speedrun, you've probably learned it, but if you haven't, then it's much nicer to just have the cane to be able to use there. So unfortunately, Tranq just getting the map there, so there's nothing in the entire front of Skull Woods, and he'll have to continue to the back. And he does not have a sword, so he can only check the one chest, which means he can only get one item from this dungeon. Meanwhile, Chisame found nothing in the front half of Thieves. There was like 50 rupees and a heart piece, but otherwise it was the big key and the small key, so he'll have to continue further back in his dungeon as well.
This is a very significant time investment from Tranq to walk all the way back here to get this one chest. Without the mirror, he's going to have to walk out or do a death warp. Still has to walk all the way back to village of outcasts.
Oh my god.
So yeah, this is a big time investment if this chest doesn't pay off with an actual progression item.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been too bad if that chest hadn't had the big key, because then at least you could be like, okay, I'll just save and quit out of here and whatever, I'll walk it back from Sanctuary. But it's the big key, so he's got to actually walk his way all the way out of here, all the way back to the first section of the dungeon, do the bomb jump, and we're gonna find out if this was actually all worth it. I mean, this could be like the next big item, right? This could be the mirror. If this is the mirror, God help Chisame, because this is awful.
Yeah, that was a sword, and he could have gone and just, killed Mafia immediately. That would have been worthwhile. But this is, most likely this is not going to be, the game-changing progression item, which means that we're talking about a really big time commitment. Chisame is at least going to be able to clear this dungeon with half magic and the right cane. It's not a difficult blind fight. It's kind of annoying, but it's not difficult. Whoa!
That's wow.
I don't know if you saw, but at the same time Tranq got the green rupee. Did you see what Chisame picked up?
I did not. I totally just looked away.
We have our first sword.
Oh man. Well, that is a really, really nice pickup to find here in Thieves Town, because boy, the rest of the dungeon was complete garbage. Now, Chisame is having to abandon that big chest, so that's possibly a problem for later on, also possibly not. Since Tranq did walk out, he'll be able to check Bumper Cave, but Chisame, meanwhile, is working on this blind fight. I was expecting we were going to have to see how confident she was in his cane fight, but instead we're just seeing the standard scripted fighter sword fight. Pretty straightforward. As long as you get the hits in as quickly as you can, it's scripted. He does go off script a little bit, but is able to wrap it up cleanly and collect a compass. So, alas, the last item is in that big chest.
Yeah, Tranq didn't even have the flippers to consider doing a, an Eastern Dark World continuation at that point. Unfortunately, Skull was not the play to start with, but. We're still early in the game, so it's not a major detour. Chisame, at this point, I would really like to see make the Southern Dark World play. There's a lot of items down here.
I think that's pretty likely. If you do this Thieves Town play, you're not super likely to double back and go up to Skull. You're almost certainly just continuing to the south, and that is what we're seeing. Chisame already did the C-shaped house and the chess game earlier, so instead we are going to head to the south. After doing the digging game, can pick up the blacksmith and take him for a world tour, since we don't have that mirror, unless it shows up in the digging game, I guess.
There's always a little bit of a gamble when you take the blacksmith with you. If you pick up some progression items that might want to make you go into a dungeon, you're going to have to get rid of the blacksmith. You get the hammer, it's really nice. You can just go in the Palace of Darkness and Kiki will eat the blacksmith, but if you pick up the mirror and the hook shot and you want to do swamp or ice, you're going to have to actually turn them in.
Chisame actually had a moment there where he thought about whether or not to pick up that piece of heart, and then he realized he's actually still on 6 hearts, so this one gives him a refill and a new heart container, so he's on 7, but both of these runners, even with the upgraded males, 7 hearts is not the nicest heart count. There's a lot of things in this game that deal flat damage regardless of your armor, and modula fight when there's spikes, that's one of them.
So, Chisame is going to have to leave a location behind. Both of them are. We're not going to be able to do that K45 check without a mirror. Mirror is, at least in my opinion, one of the best early game items to find, simply because it makes your routing so much more efficient, and you don't leave these one-off locations orphaned like that. But this is our first hype cave check, so we got a pretty hype mini Moldrum cave earlier. So I don't know how much hype is left.
It probably sucked up all the hype, but let's find out. Generous guy is going to hand us a piece of heart, which I guess in the circumstances is pretty nice. We're going to get a big 20, we're going to get a bomb upgrade, we're going to get a green rupee, and we're going to get a piece of hearts. So,
0 heart.
Mini Moldrum Cave sucked it all up. Where's he gone?
Wow, what a disappointment. Yeah, that's a 0 out of 10 right there.
where are you going to head, Chisame? Looks like he's going to take a swim. Now this is, okay, so he's going to swim around to pod. There's actually not much else he can do swimming here because he can't mirror because he doesn't have that. So all he's going to be able to do is just swim around to, there's a little spot near the hobo where you could mirror. Oh, he's actually going to take this one. I always forget this one exists, but yeah, they both get you to the same place, so whatever.
So, pod dip, I think at this point, is a pretty good play. You know, it's without the hammer, you're not going to be able to full clear the dungeon, but with the bow and the lamp, you are able to get everything but the boss in logic. So that's at least 4 items.
You know, I've seen a lot of vanilla-ish hammer lately showing up in pod. I would not be surprised to see that here. I mean, Skullwoods is available to Chisame now. It is fully clearable, but boy, pod is so much stronger of a play, especially if you have the bow. There's so many items here. The chance of there being a progression item is incredibly high, so just head on in there, get what you can get, even though you would love to be able to full clear it right now. Sometimes you can't necessarily do that, but I bet the progression's here.
Yeah, going this way, it does make a lot of sense. You know, you just finished doing the Southern Dark World. Coming out of pod, you can do, you know, a pyramid check. If you want to, you can, you know, route in catfish as well after that. So there's other things to do in this region of the world. If you know, you're probably going to pick up something. Going to Skullwoods, on the other hand, it's just 2 items, and it's still not a super easy fight with the fighter sword. Despite, yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, so Chi finding that the dungeon is not bow locked, so somehow, if you managed for 36 minutes to skip Mini Moldorm Cave, you would still not be locked out of this dungeon. You would be able to continue, but neither of our runners did that play today, so he will continue north, check the bridge. He's going to try to route this as optimally as possible, presumably, but you know, when you don't have the boots and well, really, just you don't have the boots. It's kind of inconvenient.
Yeah, if you get stuck at the end of the bow-locked hallway without the hammer or the mirror, you basically have to death warp at that point, and that's unfortunate. There are quite a few conveniently placed spikes, though.
That is true in that area. Tranq having a pretty good blind fight, managing to avoid taking pretty much any damage, and takes out the thief in order to collect his compass and green pendant. So both runners have access to this now, and if she gets a mirror here in pod, he'll be able to check that green pendant and see what it is. Might be important progression. They already did yet, of course, the sword in Thieves Town, and that was pretty important. We all are also finishing up here on this this right side and continuing back into the main area. Actually, no, she didn't do the bow side, did he? Did he? Am I?
No, she still has to drop down and do the bow side. Doing the back first. This is a bit of a gamble because if the big key is on the bow side, he's gonna have to come all the way back here twice. You avoid the same.
Really, exactly. Yeah. Just really not wanting to deal with that right side with the hammer, I guess. Oh my gosh, and it pays off, so...
he's still going to have to walk all the way back out of the Dark Maze or take a death warp there. So, I mean, it's just... This dungeon is difficult to navigate without the mirror, but finding the flute, that's going to help with future navigation.
Boy, that's for sure. That's the kind of thing that he'll be happy to save and quit out after the dungeon and go to Kakariko and activate that. That is a huge, huge item. And will skip the Harmless Hellway chest. Now, actually, he does not necessarily know for sure that Harmless Hellway has a key in it. There's a very high chance the front of pod is guaranteed you have at minimum 4 keys, but he doesn't know that it has exactly 4. So, oh boy, he is setting up for the death warp, but rocking a little close right now. Really don't want to miss out on these chests, except, of course, that one's just a compass, but...
Yeah, you want to set up for the death warp and not do the death warp.
And doing a good setup there, setting down the bomb, but unfortunately it only does half damage with the red mail. In fact, maybe it's a quarter, so took a few extra bombs, but Chisame got there, and will...
Oh no!
I didn't remember that he picked up a fairy either.
Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, you gotta think that he forgot. Yeah, and he's setting up another one, but that's just annoying.
That's amazingly horrible, in the best way.
Ooh, now Tranq opted to save and quit, so he's going to be in an interesting position as far as getting that flute, but he will be doing these flippers checks now, and she looks like he's actually just skipping the bow side entirely.
Well, he might have counted his items. One of the two items over there has to be a small key, so we can get to the back. And I don't know if he picked up all 5 items already. Then it's just a compass or a map.
Okay, well, we're just kidding. He went back.
But yeah, he's coming back in.
This is really weird. Possibly, a moment of forgetfulness, or maybe he had second thoughts. But Tranq, meanwhile, is checking the hobo, collecting a full heart container. That's only our 8th. Not very common to only have 8 full containers at 40 minutes in, but that's where we are in this scene. And Chi, once again, setting up that death warp. No fairies this time.
No, and we did get a look at his inventory screen. He has all the dungeon items, so this is going to be a small key and 1 item with the last item on Helmasaur King.
We'll find out what those are. We do see the mushroom here in the front, so there were exactly 4 keys in the front, and therefore the harmless hellway gamble, quote-unquote gamble, was successful. It is not an item, it's just a small key in the harmless hellway, but as you mentioned, there is an item on the boss. Tranq finally checking out Ice Rod Cave, using the flippers as an excuse to do that, so he will pick up red mail as well, which will be nice, since, again, still on 8 hearts.
Yeah, that's a good point. That could have been 2 keys, with the other item being in the harmless hellway. That would have been really inconvenient. I wouldn't be surprised if Chisame just said, "I'm done with it. I'm skipping it at this point."
Yeah, fortunately it paid off, because you hate to see a bit of routing like that cost that much time, especially if the hellway had like the vital item. But in this case, we don't know what's on Helmasaur, and that's really the only thing to worry about. So Chi is going to walk out, and he will be doing some pyramid, some catfish potentially. We'll find out if he wants to do that or not, but he will have the option to go activate that flute, so I'm sure that's weighing heavy on his mind. Tranq, meanwhile, heading up to the Zora area, not having the rupees to buy the Zora item, but he can check everything else here with his flippers.
Yeah, I had forgotten about the Zora items when I was mentally, doing the routing in my head. But these 5 items, including Zora, are really a quick check. Considering that he saved and quit, it might have been a good idea to do the rupee farming so he could have full cleared the area, though.
Oh my gosh. Boots hanging out on the pyramid ledge. They're just chilling there. With those, Chisame will be able to full clear desert now, finally. But also will be able to go fast. Tranq, not having headed to the pyramid area, but also not having done pods, so there's a pretty good chance that will still end up in his route in the near future, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that is the downside with the mitts being your access to the Dark World. You can spend a lot of time just going from Kakariko to other locations. So the boots make that much easier. We're seeing immediately, Chisame go to one of these out-of-the-way locations, like Catfish, and just getting here so much quicker.
Yeah, unfortunately for Chisame, no mirror to be able to check out those various flippers locations, that is, but as we did see from Tranq, they are completely unnecessary. Just bombs and heart pieces, I believe, across a lot of them. So not really finding anything useful was Tranq, but he is now heading to the north. He is not appearing to do Skull, so it looks like we're probably going to see a North Dark World route around to Pyramid and Pod. So this will get him those boots, I'm fairly confident.
Yeah, we'll probably do Catfish first on the way over. Be the letdown, but those boots are going to be more than enough to make up for it.
Yeah, exactly. And Chisame immediately checking these boots locations as well. Not finding anything from King's Tomb, but Bonk Rocks still remain, and then he'll continue from there to activate that flute in Kakariko. Good routing choice here, just a subtle thing of making sure you're checking these boots locations and then going to get flute. Do the right one first, then the left one, because you have to continue on to Kakariko. So Chisame being, of course, more than skilled enough at routing to be able to qualify for this bracket, as he demonstrates here.
Yeah, it's a little bit. You know, you do orphan the graveyard ledge by picking up both boot spots, right? In the light world, it makes it a lot less likely you're going to go back and check that once you get the mirror, because at this point there's nothing for Chisame to route that in with. So hopefully we don't find progression yet again up on the ledge there.
Well, you know, you could at least include the graveyard ledge with a skull into bumper cave play. So if that came necessary, you could definitely find a way to do that. But you're right, it's not going to be as good as if you could include it with those boots locations. Chisame busting out that flute, going directly to number 6. And not having the mirrors, so it looks like he's going to finish up Desert first, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see a Mire area check, at least to find out what the medallion is, but also just to, you know, get that Mire shed check out of the way.
Yeah, Mire being a pendant, I don't know if he's going to actually go in and clear that dungeon. Those two items are fairly time intensive to get. And he knows he doesn't actually need to clear the dungeon itself, but you know, if there's an item on the boss, that's a really big time investment.
Yeah, I would be very surprised to see him actually go into Mire, but he does pick up the small key off the torch, so you have to do the back and forth a couple times across Desert, no major glitches style, and the big key will be in this right side, along with one other thing. We'll see whether or not that's a dungeon item or a non-dungeon item. As Tranq picking up those boots, heading straight into pod. So he's going to be able to possibly do a better route in pod, and also will pick up that flute pretty shortly.
Yeah, we're 46 minutes in. We still haven't been able to fully roll out an AGA requirement, and you know that's always fun when that happens. Never mind, Ice Palace. I misread my. I was thinking hammer, but I misread my my crystal marking.
Oh yeah, for the Pyramid Fairy. Yeah, cool. Fortunately, hammer is required to beat ice, but yeah, otherwise it would be possible for the Pyramid Fairy to block the hammer and Aghanim to be required to access that. I think there are glitches you can do, a water walk setup of some sort to be able to pull that off, but I'm not sure if the runners know that. It's not very common to know that, so I don't necessarily assume anyone does. But only dungeon item is in the front of Desert here, aside from that cane they picked up ages ago, so Chisame is going to have to go finish the dungeon, which of course he wants to do anyway, and he'll find his remaining item there.
Yeah, I commentated a race that had the Pyramid Fairy blocking hammer in the Swiss round, so it's always on the front of my mind. You know, don't roll out AGA, you know, until you have to.
Yeah, to give an idea of how uncommon that situation is, I've done like many standard seeds, like dozens and dozens. I've had that happen to me one time. Oh, not just between playing, but also in the simulator, where I've done hundreds and hundreds of seeds. I've had it happen one time where that was actually required, so it is a very uncommon situation. Chisame getting softened up by these Beamos a little bit, but it's, you know, it's not too dangerous for dungeon. 3 hearts should be plenty. Land molars are not that bad. You got red mail. Well, now he's got 5 hearts.
And he's got silver arrows too, so it's gonna be a really quick land mail kill. Tranq is doing the more standard right side bow mode first, you know, pod route, so he's not gonna have to gamble that Hellway chest.
Yeah, he will know by the time he gets there that it is, in fact, a key. Chisame does go ahead and bust out those silver arrows. Unfortunately, gets a little bit of a troll jump from the second worm, but is able to take out the first 2, and now gets the last one as well. Collects a piece of heart. Finally starting to see some of those, but unfortunately, think the runners would rather have progression right now.
Yeah, it is pretty surprising that we still don't have access to Eastern Death Mountain or Tower of Hera.
It'd be really interesting to see Go mode access to those dungeons. That would be very, very interesting. So Tranq getting his Death Warp set up properly there, and as you see, when Argus dies, he turns into a crystal because that's that's thematically appropriate.
I like that.
Was that ether from Meyer? It looked like ether.
Yeah, if Tranq turned into a pendant, that would be a little bit more appropriate for Argus.
All right, Powder coming out of that. Oh, Chisame walked out. Oh wow, this is the big play right here, dude. Chisame is going into Meyer.
This is a big play, but at this point in the game, when you're still missing the hammer, Meyer is a very trolly location that can have it. So it's it's a gamble, but it's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah, Chisame has the items required to complete this dungeon, barely. It will be an easy boss fight at least because, silver arrows are really good for that. He's going to bust out the fire rod to make use of this room. It does get beat up a little bit by a Wizrobe, but fortunately with the red mail, a little bit less terrifying. Still pretty terrifying, just not super terrifying, I guess.
Yeah, without the Master Sword, you can't use the standard strat there without any sword beams, so I had to use quite a few extra fire rod shots. Hopefully for Chisame, we'll find both of the items very soon in this dungeon. We won't have to go all the way down to Vitreous.
One of them is definitely on Vitreous. I think this seed has it out for our runners right now. And, well, we already got the first one. It's a red potion that's actually really nice, just because we're only on those 7 hearts. It's a little bit scary. But Tranq, meanwhile, finishing up Pod and is able to save and quit out of there instead of having to walk all the way since he's done that North Dark World stuff already. So that's a nice little time save back for him because, as you can tell, now that the seed's gotten a little bit linear, Tranq is at a fair bit of a deficit right now, where Chisame is already onto this Meyer leg. Tranq is going to need to go check those boot spots. He's going to need to go activate that flute. He's going to need to finish up Desert. And after all that, he will be caught up with Chisame, who's already working on this Meyer play. But if this Meyer play doesn't pay off, then Tranq has a huge opportunity to catch back up.
Yeah, so far Tranq's biggest time loss has been that early commitment into Skull Woods, which was a very deep dive that yielded no value.
Yeah, it is such just the absolute worst troll as well. Like, it was very, very rude. So Chisame checks that back torch chest before heading back out to the main parlor area here to see if he can find something nice here. And just wants to avoid that cutscene location if possible. But it looks like he can't. He doesn't have the big key. We'll see
he does have the big key.
Oh.
Yeah, that was in the spike room.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, I'm totally paying attention. Whew.
Yeah, so he's got one item. He's just going for the second item at this point. And if he can pick it up in the 3 remaining chests in advance of the boss, then he'll be able to save and quit and be done with this.
Now, he doesn't have the hook shot still, so he's got to do the dash movement through that arm, but he pulls it off, gets another small key from the big chest, and what's in the map chest? The compass.
The compass, yeah.
Oh, he's saving and quitting. Okay. So he says, whatever, I'm not sitting through the cutscene, I'm not fighting the boss. This is an interesting choice, so it didn't take him super long to do that play, and even if this turns out to have been completely pointless, which, I mean, it kind of has to, because all he got was that bottle, Tranq is still behind by having to do the entirety desert, so Chisame is now going to catch up on some of the stuff that Tranq already did while Tranq finishes up desert. We're going to see these flippers locations again. And Chisame also does not have money to buy the Zora item.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. If you're going to route this in and you're that close to doing Zora, I don't know why you wouldn't start from Sanctuary and just do a quick Houlihan and just be able to knock it all out.
So he's busting out the flute. I mean, this could just be fluting back to 8 for a quicker swim, which is a pretty reasonable play.
Yeah, that's trying the mushroom. Picked up the powder there in the desert, so it doesn't need to save the mushroom to do a fake powder anymore.
Yep, so that's a good call on his part, making sure to save that just long enough for that. Also, only recently got the flute, of course. And that yields the cape, which I believe does not give anything from Bumper Ledge, right? They checked that. However, it does give access to something. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but we know where the hammer can't be though, so it's okay in this case.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if that crystal was, you know, on a different dungeon though, that would have been. If Desert Palace was the other 5/6 instead of Ice Palace, that would have been scary.
It would have been something, that is for sure.
So I kind of feel like with both players opting to come up here without money, Zor has to be our next progression item.
Dude, I think so too. That seems really, really plausible. Chisame will, instead of saving quitting, actually walk back out and just bust out the flute and head somewhere. But yeah, you know, you gotta think, neither of them had the rupees. That Zora item not only is never gonna get checked, but boy, it could have the vital item here. And Chisame is heading back to finally turn in that green pendant that they've had for quite a while now, but they just haven't had a good opportunity to turn it in. So now we're gonna see what it is.
Mirror on the green pendant would be a nice irony. Nope, just a heart piece. All right. Well, I like the play that they made in the mire made a lot of sense. You know, you got the first item. It's quick to get back to mire, and you know those last two were a big time commitment. But across what we've seen on both of these guys, they're running out of spots.
Yeah, and here's where Chisame is finally going to probably make the play that will allow Tranq to make up that time he wasted earlier. I'm just kidding. I thought Chisame was probably going to say, you know what, I'm going to go to Skull. You know, in the past, Skull has been referred to as Valuance, even in V29, even though people think it's not that important. It still has value a decent amount of time, but that doesn't necessarily seem to be what Chisame is doing. We're definitely seeing a bumper cave check here. He hasn't done this one yet. Just a piece of heart. And now the question is, are you going into Skull?
Yeah, I think he is. And he just got the cape, so it kind of makes sense that you feel like, all right, maybe it's leading me to check bumper cave.
Yeah, so here's the opportunity for Tranq to save a bit of time on Chisame if, oh no. Well, this is not one of the worst places to fall into, but yeah, if Tranq chooses not to go into mire right now, then he'll save a bunch of time on Chisame. Or if he does choose to go into there, goes further and finds an item, but it looks like he's leaving, so alas.
Tranq also turning in the green pendant, it seems like, going to be disappointed with that.
Well, this is the exciting part of Rando where it becomes a basically a mad dash to find the one stupid place where the next thing is. And we know that Chisame is not on the trail yet. It could theoretically be on Mothula himself. He has to have the other item in this dungeon. And presumably Chisame is going to check that before checking that big key. So if it is the progression, you know, it might help him out a bunch.
Tranq is following in Cheese steps a little bit. You know, these first two locations in the Mire Shed are, you know, an absolutely standard play. You know, a dip in the mire, that'll be an interesting gamble. We have the Mothula item, a mire item at this point. There's a couple chests that we can check in Ice Palace that might have progression. It's really nice to be locked out of Swamp at the moment.
He is walking out of the Mire Shed. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
okay.
No.
He's going in. He's going in. He fooled us for a little bit, but he says, no, I'm going in.
I don't feel like he's really committed to this play, though. This is kind of like, you know, I don't have any other good idea at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's so few locations left here because they're lacking the mirror, the hook shot, and the hammer, all of them. You know, when they get the mirror, they'll get access to that ice rod, but until then, they can't do Turtle Rock. They can't even get to Turtle Rock, and they're going to need 2 items to be able to do that, so it has to be either on Mothula or that second item in Mire that Chisame abandoned.
Or, you know, the early locations that are in Ice Palace. And Ice Palace is really a pain to go into without the hammer, because you know how difficult it is to get to the non-hammer locked locations.
Well, it's not even just the hammer either. A significant chunk of Ice Palace requires the hook shot. They don't have that either, so like the likelihood of it being in Ice Palace is so low. I just feel like there's no way, which means it's probably there.
Yeah, the hookshot logic in Ice is a little interesting. It, you know, it depends on where the keys are. It may or may not be hookshot locked, but you don't know until you open the first few chests and find out what they are.
Go ahead.
I was just saying it's unlikely that it would be you know, hookshot locked and hammer locked. You know, you need one of those to progress.
Yeah, we'll see. Chisame got a little bit bullied by Gibners earlier on in Skull, but does manage to make it to the Moth, and sees that he has a red potion, but unfortunately he's very low on magic, so he's not going to be able to do too much with the Fire Rod here. Going to go for some Fighter's Sword spins. They do add a lot of lag, and unfortunately if the spikes happen to tink your sword, then they knock you out of your spin. But otherwise, what they do for you is they make it a lot easier to dodge these projectiles, since they kind of give you bullet time effectively.
That's an interesting point. I never even considered the lag, you know, being an advantage.
Yeah, this was kind of my my baby strat when I first learned this, and I mean, no offense to Chisame by that. Like, Mothula is not an easy fight, especially with Fighter's Sword. But you know, using those spins definitely allows you to take some of the difficulty out of it, but adds a different kind of difficulty, of course. So, doing pretty well in the fight so far. Tranq is continuing on to this crappy cutscene chest in Mire, so we're going to find out if this had the item that Chisame wanted, and there goes Mothula. So now, here it is. Is it the item he wants? It's 50 rupees! That's it! Skull has nothing.
Yeah, that Mothula positioning was really difficult, too. It just was in the top left corner of that entire fight. Alright, so here's Tranq's check. Here's another one of the, you know, the big one-off items, and that's the other Mire item.
Where is it? Is it really an ice, dude? Oh my god!
I think it's got to be an ice, or Zora at this point. Yeah, Zora. God, both players not having enough money. If they find progression on Zora, they're both going to assume the other person, you know, did a hula hand.
Oh my gosh, Tranq did save and quit to Sank, but he's heading left from here. What is he thinking? Meanwhile, Chisame, he might be finishing Skull, actually, while Chisame collects his second chest. So, boy, this is really something, man.
Tranq maybe forgot he had a flute.
It took me a minute to even realize that.
He has the flute. I mean, he was in Mire, so we know he activated it.
Yep. Well, he actually is going south, so this is likely the blacksmith, etc. checks. Now he can't do hammer pegs. He can't do bat cave because he doesn't have hammer, and Chisame is making the play into ice. Oh man.
Yeah, if he had the mirror, he could have done the bat by forfeiting his Dark World portal. But without that, it's just the frog and the purple chest. At least he got his flute out though this time, so he knows he can turn it in quicker.
Alright, well we're gonna see. It could be these few non-hammer block chests in ice, or it could be the blacksmith, or the purple chest even. Which one's it going to be? Is it going to be any of them? Is there something we've forgotten?
A purple chest is a lot of work because you have to go back into the Dark World again just to pick it up. That keep actually might be good for the purple chest. It gives him another reason to go back to the Dark World. Oh, and a freaking hammer! Oh! Oh my gosh!
The
First
hammer is
chest.
the first chest of ice. I cannot believe that. That is actually a first time that I've seen that.
I regret that I've seen that more than once.
Oh my goodness. So Chisame is now way out to a significant lead. Tranq needs to get to ice immediately. The blacksmith could still have something important. Nope, it's a red shield. But if he continues this play and does the purple chest, that could have, for example, the hook shot. If it does, that puts him right back in the mix. But for right now, Chisame's got what you would definitely call a huge lead, and the opportunity to run away with this if if he just keeps playing well.
Yeah, Chisame definitely has the item advantage at this point. Hammer is, it's going to let him full clear ice. It's going to unlock. Well, it doesn't really unlock anything on Death Mountain actually, so they're still limited by a lot of locations at this point.
Yeah, you got to think there's either another progression item in Ice Palace or in Pyramid Ferry. Good use of bombs there by Chisame to take out these Pen Gators. He was finding to his dismay earlier that the Fire Rod does not actually quickly kill them, so he had to bust out the Silver Arrows to get access to that Hammer chest. But yeah, there's 2 more items in Ice Palace that are non-dungeon items, and then there's going to be the 2 items in Pyramid Ferry that are something. So I feel pretty strongly that we're going to see something else here on the way. But first, Chisame is going to have to take this long trip through the dungeon. He did do the Ice Palace bomb jump too, so that will make it slightly slower to get to the Ice Tea chest, but otherwise won't change anything.
Picking up the key there and avoiding the hookshot room, that saves a bit of time. He's going to be able to check these right side items first. I expect, regardless of what we find here in Ice Palace, it makes a lot of sense to do Pyramid Ferry and do Palace of Darkness. Just get that last crystal and that last item anyway. You said Pyramid Ferry. That's Tower of Hera is the other crystal. You can't do that.
Oh yeah, no. Where is my brain today? Not here. Yeah, but there's no but.
I trusted you.
I have abandoned us. I've let us down. A Master Sword for Chisame coming from the vanilla Big Key location. Tranq is following Chisame into Ice Palace, and actually this is way closer than I thought, so this could be a lot worse for Tranq now. This dungeon is really long, so even though they're both in it at the same time, it's longer of a difference than it looks like, but certainly not as bad as it could have been for Tranq, since he is picking up this hammer literally right now.
Yeah, Chisame had the item advantage. At this point, assuming Tranq doesn't, nope out of here without the Master Sword or something else like that, they'll be on the same page. They both have some one-off locations checked. The others don't. Tranq has the other Meyer location. Chisame has the Skullwoods location. So one or the other might might lose time checking those locations. The other one's already done.
Well, there's Chisame's remaining small key, so he will have access to the boss now, but hasn't gotten that 3rd item in the dungeon yet. Tranq will be picking up a Master Sword as well. That'll be nice, actually. They've been rocking the Fighter Sword this entire time for many dungeon dips, but now, over an hour in, they'll be able to do it. Nice use of bomb jumps by Chisame as well to make this route to the Iced Tea room a little bit more optimal. Does have to throw a bomb to get access to this big chest. No hook shot to skip the blocks here. What's in the big chest? It is a red shield. So Tranq's gonna pick up the mirror shield, but that's it for ice. It was just the hammer.
The hammer and the Master Sword, that's 2 very valuable items. If my 3rd item is just a shield, I'll say ice was still a success.
True, well, as far as progression at least. Although, I mean, Master Sword's progression, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, they do need the Master Sword to beat the game, so at the moment, that's a progression item. Any subsequent swords. Yeah.
Oh, man. Alright, Gold Stair fight for Chisame. And bringing out that Fire Rod, just gets to plink at the shield 8 times, and then he's got 8 more shots thanks to the half magic to melt the puffs. Almost done. Ow. Yeah, those things hurt. Don't take damage from them. Alright, she's good. He finishes up the fight and collects a compass, the remaining dungeon item, and there you go. Whew. That was an action-packed Ice Palace here.
Yeah, that was a good Ice Palace. Hammer, just doesn't really open up a lot of huge item-dense locations. So where he goes, there's no obvious indication of where he's going to go next.
He's going to save and quit. He's going to probably start from Mountain Cave, and no, he's just going to go Link's house. He's going to bust out the flute. Where to?
So he's got, all right, this is good. Finish off Palace of Darkness and pick up another crystal. Give yourself some time to think. You're gonna have to do this anyway, so it's not time loss here. Chisame has the blacksmith chain, makes a little bit more sense. He can do hammer pegs now, so that's one more item. He can also do powder, so there's 4 items over there for Chisame. That seems like a decent place to go next. Spike Cave's open now as well, despite nothing else in Dark Mountain being open.
So this opens a total of 5 new locations. It opens Pod Boss. It opens Hammer Pegs. It opens the Powder. It opens Spike Cave, as you just said, all those things. And it opens the Big Chest of Thieves Town.
Well, I'm guessing Chad helped on that last one because neither of us are evil enough to think of that.
I had it in the back of my mind because I've been burned by it so many times, Tiru, and I'm really hoping these runners aren't going to get burned by it, but you got to know they probably also have it in the back of their mind too.
Yeah, I wasn't counting how many items they got in Thieves Town, but if they left one behind, then absolutely, Thieves Town Big Chest. It's not that bad to get back to, though. I think Chisame being able to check 4 locations still in the Thieves Town area might just, go in there and do it.
Even if you're there, it is still like a 2.5 minute time investment, but actually I don't think it's that bad. I think it's like a 1.5 minutes, but it's pretty bad. Not a great way to be spending your time, but Tranq busting out the hammer on Cold Star. I love this. It's a powerful weapon, it's stronger than the Master Sword, deals double the damage, and you're able to take advantage of it, which he is doing very effectively. It lets you kill the puffs a little bit quicker, so there's Cold Stare down for Tranq. He collects his crystal, not super far behind Chisame, just a little bit, but where this next item is going to be is really going to determine where this goes, and there's still plenty of room for Tranq to catch up.
Yeah, Tranq had a little less magic coming into that fight, so wasn't able to get through as many puffs as Chisame was. Tranq's already done a little bit more overworld, though, so he might catch up some time here if he also immediately goes to Palace of Darkness and picks up his crystal, and Chisame checks some of these extra spots. That'll be some time to catch up.
Here we go with the Helmet Sword fight as Chisame busting out the hammer and opting not to hold out the sword for the Tink strats to break the helmet, and then busting out the Silver Arrow for 1 shot, 1 kill. So now we're going to see, what is the last item in pod? Is it our progression? Is it nothing? It is nothing. And that leaves those other 4 locations.
Yeah, getting the crystal's nice, though.
That is very true. And they're now up to 4 of those. Just 4. An hour 13 in.
I know. If you're down to 5 locations and one of them is a crystal you're going to have to do anyway, prioritizing those 5 becomes very easy to do. So I guess we're going to see Spike Cave next, or maybe he'll float away. Spike Cave probably, though.
I would bet he'll float away, but I would lose that bet because he's going to go ahead up and go straight to Spike Cave. This is, you can kind of include this whenever. My thinking was that she would probably have wanted to do the blacksmith chain that he hasn't done yet, which will be pretty lucrative in conjunction with hammer pegs and that, but he's going to go ahead and just get this out of the way first. And if this pays off, this again could be one of those things that Tranq won't necessarily check first. Not very many hearts for this, though, huh? But he does have cape and half magic, so he should be more than fine.
Yeah, the half magic will get you through this with the cape. It's very easy, you know, with the cane. That uses even less magic. You gotta be careful. You don't wait too long to activate it. Though. It does, keep takes a second there.
There's channeling. Bombo's medallion. We don't even know if that's needed yet, but now we have full access to Turtle Rock. Regardless of what medallion is, but we have no idea whether that's needed or not. That's great. Just great.
That might have been a good check. If Bombus ends up being needed for Turtle Rock, finding that when you're being essentially forced to go to Spike Cave rather than having a lot of other options is, you know, it's a good time to be forced to go there.
Chisame will now continue to do the aforementioned blacksmith stuff. We'll see if he opts to take the chance on that one chest in Thieves Town. I would be surprised, but you know, I've been surprised before, but not this time. I will be non-surprised this time.
You are correct this time. Going right. Going for the. You might get it after he picks up the purple chest, though.
That's true. I mean, if you blindly okay, he saved and quit, and that's actually a good route because he'll have to come back to that area, to the blacksmith area, in the Dark World later to get the chest. So it's better to do the pegs then rather than right now. So this is a good choice by him. But yeah, we'll see whether he opts to include that chest. Again, would be surprised, but I like being surprised. That's Randomizer.
Well, he'll be able to do the dwarf and the powder here. So if the powder has progression, then he can avoid that second trip into the Dark World. Just skip the pegs in the chest altogether. And the powder was one of those 5 items.
I forgot that it was mirror shield on, or it was a progressive shield on blacksmith. So you're going to see both runners with the riot shield. That's not a very common sight here. But here we go. Bat is going to be our next new check. Tranq skipping Spike Cave is going directly to Kakariko. So this route's going to be a little bit different here.
I think he just remembered he needs to do the bat first.
Alright, but then all he's got here is hammer pegs and that Thieves Town big chest, so is he going to do it, or is he only going to do hammer pegs? That's what we want to see here.
Tranq still has the purple chest too. Didn't he skip that initially?
No, he did that. He did all of them. Purple chest turned out to be a bottle with a B in it.
Okay.
Alright, Chisame heading back into the Dark World to do hammer pegs and the purple chest. That will lead him away from Thieves Town, most likely. So if he were gonna do it, he'd probably do it before, but we'll see.
Tranq's killed Helmsor, though, so they're essentially, you know, 15 seconds apart at the moment.
Yeah, that Spike Cave check is really the one thing that Chisame has done that Tranq hasn't. Otherwise, they are identical.
Yeah, Tranq also has, you know, Skullwoods to dip into, like Chisame has, you know, Mire to dip back into, things that could lead them astray.
Oh, there's a great ones, actually, yeah. There's one-offs in those awful locations. Tranq's is a little bit better. He would just have to go finish off Mothula. Nothing in hammer pegs. Oh, man.
And
Tranq
we know this... Sorry.
No, you got it.
I was just filling, saying we know the purple chest here is going to be nothing.
Yeah, correct. And Tranq is going nowhere near that Thieves Town entrance. He is going directly to hammer pegs. He's going to find nothing there, so... Ooh, man. What is the next play for Chisame? He's got the extra Mire item. He's got Zora. And he's got
Thieves Town.
And that's it.
It's got to be Zora, right?
I would definitely do Zora before any of those other ones. But Chisame goes to 3.
Thieves Town, big chest. And Tranq's doing it too. They're both. Oh my god.
They're actually going to. Oh my goodness! And if this is the item, then Tranq is now in the lead.
Tranq pulled it slightly ahead. If this is it. Either way, they're both wasting the same time. They're both wasting the same time if it's not the item.
Yeah, that's correct. And it is a lengthy trip, as you'll see. They have to go all the way into the back of Thieves Town, reactivate one of the switches, go down to the basement, go to the room. knock down the peg and probably get the item they need after all this time. This is incredible. Unless it's Zora.
So I was going to comment, and what Reg just posted in chat. You know, if I think both players are saying if it's on Zora, I've lost because my opponent definitely went to Zora and they got the money. So I would imagine that if it isn't here on the chest, that Tranq goes to Skullwoods and Chisame goes back to Misery Mire.
Those are definitely good guesses as far as what they'll think about doing. I would not at all be surprised if that were the case. But, I mean, realistically, we know it's between this and Zora, and it's probably this, just because of how this seed has been.
I gotta say, it's gotta be Zora, because it was so easy for them to get it earlier. It would just, I don't know. We're gonna find out right now, though.
Yep, one of us will be proven right, the other one will be proven wrong. What is it?
Zora.
What's in the chest?
Zora!
It's 50
Yes!
Oh,
wow.
Tranq is incredibly frustrated, and he can't mirror out. He's going to fall into this pit until he dies.
So he doesn't save and quit, so that I guess he wants to go to Skullwoods next.
Yep, that has to be the play, but Chisame is saving and quitting. Chisame's got 2 locations.
Chisame's going to go to Misery Mire.
He's got the flute out. It might not be Zora. He could, Misery Mire, he could flute to 2. What's he going to do?
He doesn't have money for Zora. Where else would he go? Oh my god.
6. Oh my god.
I called this.
This is incredible. We're going to be down to the literal last location too.
Well, all the divergences they made early on, all their gambles, they both had to go back on all of them. I think you were right. You know, this is a little faster for Tranq. Yeah, because but it's going to be close for Chisame though. I mean, it was in the vanilla chest and not the vitreous.
Yeah, he's checked every other chest in here too, so he knows exactly the chest to check. And if it's not there, I mean, maybe he'll go to vitreous. I mean, that is to say, maybe he's thinking, I will go to vitreous if it's not there. But he's going to find it in that exact one chest. And then what?
Yeah, well, they're coming out of here, 20 seconds apart. Chat just points out Tranq still has Spike Cave, but more than Spike Cave, Tranq has to farm some more money too. I don't think just one Houlihan will get him enough.
How did Tranq end up being so far behind in rupees? What has he not gotten? I don't think there's a single location that either runner has checked that the other one hasn't, so I'm confused about the rupee difference.
Did Mothula have rupees? I can't think of anything. Mothula and Spike Cave.
Near miss there for Chisame with the torches, but he does manage to get him lit. So he'll be collecting this. Mothula does have 300 rupees, it sounds like, so that is where Tranq will get them. And so he's got the Master Sword here. That'll make this fight a lot nicer. As Chisame sits through this cutscene, they'll be done at like the same moment, basically. And I bet Tranq will also probably skip the pendant animation because he knows the pedestal is nothing. There's the arrow grid for Chisame, the save and quit. There's the death for Tranq.
So he just won't even pick up the pendant.
Oh, it's 50 rupees.
50 rupees, okay.
Oh, he's collecting the pendant. Oh, this is going to cost him a whole bunch of time.
Probably wasn't thinking about that, though. I mean, who thinks to not pick up the pendant?
It's true. It comes into play so infrequently, and here is the Houlihan.
Houlihan.
There's the save and quit for Tranq.
And Sanctuary, another Houlihan.
And Chisame has fewer rupees to collect, so he's already good. He's got his 500. He'll collect a few more just to be safe, possibly wanting some bottles filled in a little bit, but that's plenty. 643, and Tranq is heading directly to the same exact spot. So Chisame is back in the lead, as we know.
Fulgen,
the item be here.
How stupid is it that in hour 23, the number of rupees that they have to collect is influencing their progression rate?
I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this too. Like Hammer being in Ice Palace, and then they still need so many rupees that they have to do Houlihan to go check Zora, which they've been by once already and couldn't collect. Like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
I was just listening to how you described it, and I was so glad I was on push to talk because I was laughing out loud. You're like, Tranq has fewer rupees to pick up. So it's time he's gonna save relative.
Alright, dude, we're almost there. Chisame is coming into Zora, and we're gonna find out what's the item. Is
The
it
shovel!
Is it mirror? Is it a shovel? It's the mirror! Where do we go from here? Is it direct to Hera?
I think we have to go to Cave 45 and Graveyard Ledge first.
Oh, no, dude, stop.
Well, we have the ice rod up on the Spectacle Rock Ledge, so I think we know we can go to Turtle Rock and pick up that crystal.
Yep, and we can also do Hera while we're there. So Chisame is heading directly up. Tranq will pick up the mirror shortly. This is a 40-second difference, something like that. So within striking distance for Tranq for sure. But right now, both of these runners are probably thinking, if they are even able to process coherent thoughts right now, they're probably thinking, oh my god, I'm so far behind.
Well, Tranq just took the time to bomb Zora there, not realizing that, dude, you're like 15 seconds behind.
Oh my gosh, here we go. This is the first check of the entirety of Death Mountain. We're starting with Ether Tablet, picking up the Ice Rod for Chisame. Ether Tablet has a heart container, so we're finally getting into that second row of hearts, an hour 25 into this scene. There's
like 24 items that are up here that they're able to get now, so we've got to find the hook shot up here, and then that's our go mode item. So wow, third sword.
This scene has a great sense of humor too.
Yeah, it seems like, all right, well, you guys finally did Zora an hour and 20 minutes in, so I'm gonna give you everything you need immediately.
Oh, and it's making them do the basement. Come on.
So I know I don't mind this. If it's Crystal, Hera, and both people have to do the basement, then it's even on time.
Yeah, it's just one of those things as the runner where you're like, come on, I want to be done with this, please. Oh man. Alright, well, we're gonna sit through a coffee break finally. Chisame, after an hour 26, gets a moment to collect his thoughts. I guess he got one in Meyer as well, and Tranq did too. But this one's a little more extended. They get to think, like, okay, what's the situation really? All I need is hookshot, right? Now Tranq doesn't have bombos, so he might be worried about that. We don't know what the Turtle Rock medallion is right now. So Tranq, from his perspective, he thinks I got a 66% chance to be able to get into Turtle Rock and not be screwed. But I'm sure that Spike Cave is in the back of his mind. Whereas Chisame is thinking, all I need is hookshot, I'm good. It has to be up here. There's so many items here, as you said. It's got to be up here.
That could make a big difference, because if we find the hookshot, soon, like on the, in the bottom of Paradox Cave, say, even like that much of a difference, Chisame might just skip the remaining items. In that few minutes there, Tranq is going to have to check all those items, looking for bombos, just in case he needs it.
Well, nice Saint Heart showing up as the second item in Hera, so they don't need to bother checking any more chests. A nice luxury for the runners. But yeah, one of those nice things you can do routing-wise is Tranq could actually go directly to the Turtle Rock portal, find out what it is first, and then use the mirror to do an optimal check of all of the other locations on East Death Mountain. So I would guess he'll probably do that to make sure he has that info as soon as possible. And if it is bombos, then we may have to see that Spike Cave check. But Moldorm going down very quickly for Chisame. Well done fight. And that is 5 out of 7 crystals for him.
I don't think bombos would actually be that catastrophic, because like you said, he's gonna, if he finds out first, he'll be checking all the light and dark Death Mountain, which is a pretty quick check. He might actually end up picking up some extra safety items or another sword upgrade that's, is a net time savings. And Spike Cave is a great save and quit place when you're done those checks.
That's true. Although at this point, they both have red mail. They've got 12 hearts each. I wouldn't be too surprised if they're pretty happy as far as their current level of safeties. They've got enough hearts to survive pretty much everything, and they've got tempered and silvers for that Ganon fight. So we'll see as they get there. Tranq going with a poke on Moldorm to start, and then a spin, so he gets the sped up Moldorm, but he'll be fine. manages to take it out. And Chisame opting to start with Spiral Cave, so we'll see if Tranq goes for a different route here with that mirror in tow.
I like the Spiral Cave route. You can fall down, then you can just climb back up in the Dark World, and you only have to climb the mountain once.
Yeah, I admit I haven't actually timed it, but I do. It's a really nice thing that I've started doing recently, to be able to start from the Dark World, do the Dark World locations from the top, because Super Bunny Cave is way faster from the top, and then just mirror at the top and go into Paradox Cave from the top, and then do the bomb jump to get back into Spiral Cave. Meanwhile, Paradox Cave, nothing so far. Tranq is going directly to that portal to find out if he is safe or not. We're going to find out momentarily.
Yeah, you absolutely called the routing. Tranq checking this first, and I think you might even be right that Chisame goes here next as well. He just bomb jumps across and then goes to Turtle Rock first.
Another full hard container. The bomb pick up. The hook shot is there in Paradox Cave, and that is go mode for Chisame, and he just abandons the remaining chests.
But Bombos is the tablet, is the medallion rather.
Oh my gosh, that's brutal. So this is gonna cost some time for Tranq, as he needs to probably check every last one of these locations, and then also go to Spike Cave. So Chisame now with a big advantage, flutes to the wrong place, but it's not a huge deal. Will head to Swamp first, and then go back to do Turtle Rock. Didn't want to bother doing on this trip. Actually, it probably is a wash time-wise. It shouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, I don't think if you're already up there, I don't think you really lose any time by go moding it now versus later, but maybe a few seconds if you're gonna have to take that portal the second time anyway. You save one screen transition back.
Yeah, I think that's true. So here we go. Tranq is mirroring to do looks like Spiral Cave, and unfortunately it's gonna put him at the bottom, but he does have to do Paradox Cave, so he'll do Paradox Cave from the bottom as well, and then we'll see if he does do that Spike Cave play. Now, I mean, there's well,
he'll get his hook shot, so
yeah,
he'll do hook shot cave. The risk is, does he nope out, or does he do Spike Cave? Like, if he just goes straight to Swamp Palace, then it's kind of done at that point.
Yeah, that's a real problem for him, to be honest. The hook shot is going to make it very hard for him to want to find that Bomb Burst medallion, because it's in that last location that was accessible before this. So really, really good turn of events for Chisame. Like, he's got the reins firmly in his grasp on this race. He can basically, as long as he does not make any major mistakes or have any serious spaghetti, he is well set to be able to get to Gan's Tower significantly ahead of Tranq and take a win in this game one.
Yeah, absolutely. Chisame definitely has a very comfortable lead at this point. Psychologically, probably feels very behind, given how Zora played out. That he just checked so many locations that were a waste of time, including full clearing 2 pendant dungeons. So he definitely doesn't feel ahead. I think it's a safe bet to play.
Yeah, I'm sure both runners at this point. Again, I'm never certain whether people are able to actually think about whether they're ahead or behind, because I know I can't, and a lot of people say they can, so I assume that that's a thing. But if they're able to think about it, if they're able to conceive of thoughts about whether they're ahead or behind, I'm sure they're thinking, boy, I'm behind. There's no possible way I'm not. Why hasn't my opponent already finished? Like, it was right there in Zora the whole time.
Yeah, it's fun to say they feel ahead, they feel behind, but in reality, almost everybody feels behind in every race. That's just the nature of racing.
Yeah, unless you get like an incredibly nice sequence of events, you're going to tend to think like, okay, I bet my opponent is probably making the good decisions. I have to assume that, at least. I can't assume that they're making bad ones, because then I might, get lulled into a false sense of security. So you should assume that your opponent is playing really well, and then you play based on that, and if it works out, you're going to do pretty well. Now, Tranq has gone back into the Dark World with a hook shot.
I'm just confused here, because Tranq walked right past his portal into the Dark World to go take the Turtle Rock portal.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he was thinking on that. Could be, kind of stress, brain fart type thing. Now, here's the moment of truth. He walks out of Hookshot Cave,
Nope.
Oh, no.
Wait.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Oh. Yeah, no, don't do it. Yeah, keep
Okay,
going.
keep
Keep
going.
going west.
Bring it. Change the hammers. There we go. Oh my God. What a play.
Meanwhile, yeah, so he will be able to get his Bombos medallion finally, and he'll probably head down to Swamp, but Chisame, in the meantime, able to clear the entire dungeon, having a great Argus fight, pulling off the Zero Cycle on the second phase very cleanly. So nice job by Chisame, and he is in the driver's seat. All the other metaphors we can think of to refer to the fact that he's got a huge lead right now. He's going to head up to Turtle Rock and finish up very soon.
Yeah, this is great for Tranq. Not going to be enough to make the difference, but it's you're going to be finishing 5 minutes behind instead of 25 minutes behind.
Well, Ganon's Tower things can always come into play.
Things can happen. Yeah, I mean, we're not calling it. We're just saying that Chisame has a decent lead.
Yeah, and as long as Chisame keeps playing, that's really the key. As long as Chisame keeps playing well, and so far he has played quite well today. Hasn't had any serious hiccups. If you had to give one runner like an edge in execution, maybe you could give it to Tranq, but only slightly. Like, Chisame's execution has been good at pretty much all points in this race, so you're pretty much, if you're Tranq and you are omniscient and you know what the the current state of the race is, you're just hoping for Ganon's Tower routing to pay off for you at this point. Yeah,
Tranq might be a little bit ahead on the execution because he definitely had less optimal routing early on. So for them to be as close as they were heading up to Death Mountain and having literally checked everything, he had to catch up sometime.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't fault either of them more than the other for routing decisions either. Chisame's decision to go check Spike Cave was kind of one of those like toss-up type things almost, where it's like, well, I have a bunch of locations. Like, if you think about the percentage play, it would have made a lot more sense to go just directly to Blacksmith and stuff. But he said, I'm at the mountain. I'll just go check this right now. And it turned out to be the medallion. But like, it could easily have also turned out to be nothing, and then it just would have been time investment for no reason. And this would be a much closer race right now. Instead, it turns out to be the key item, and is potentially a game-deciding play.
Exactly. I was thinking more along the lines like Skull Woods that didn't pay off, and not getting the the sword for a longer period of time. Not bad decisions, just things that ended up costing more time because they didn't have the optimal progression.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just sometimes the luck of rando. Sometimes it's you can legitimately say like, you probably should have made a different call here. Maybe you can say, well, he could have made the call for Thieves instead of Skull because it would have had more items. But I mean, that's hindsight being 20/20, much more than a pure optimal routing decision or anything. But in any case, this is all we get to talk about. Meanwhile, for a little bit, as we're just going to see some good execution from both of these runners in these two dungeons. And Swamp, excuse me, is a very, very quick dungeon. So Chisame will be probably still in Turtle Rock as Tranq arrives there.
Yeah, it's just it's just Go Mode Turtle Rock, which looks a lot like non-Go Mode Turtle Rock. So no decisions to make until they get to Ganon's Tower. So really just kind of waiting for them to get to Ganon's Tower. If they pick up a blue potion or something along the way, then that'd be that was nice. Or another sword, that they're forced to pick up is might as well have it. It's not going to hurt. But you were absolutely right earlier. They have red mail, silver arrows, tempered sword. There's nothing that they need, and they have more than enough health.
Well, speaking of nice things, Chisame actually coming into here with a small key already in tow. So the front of Turtle Rock having all the small keys. Now, I'm not sure if the big key ended up being in the vanilla big key location here. We'll find out as Chisame picks up this key. It was not. It was in the front. So yeah, Chisame can just continue on to the back and skip all the remaining chests. So this is actually going to be a very nice Go Mode Turtle Rock. This is pretty much the optimal situation you can get.
Yeah, typically you don't get enough keys that you can reliably skip the big chest.
Yeah, it's usually a pretty good gamble because there will usually be 2 keys in that area, and one of them will be either in the big key, in the big chest or the roller chest. The other one will be on Laser Bridge, but in this case, Chisame doesn't care about any of that because he's got all the keys he needs, so he's just gonna skip literally all the remaining chests. We've already seen that he doesn't really have any interest in pulling chests at the moment, as he even just noped out on the last chest in Paradox Cave, which was right there, right next to him.
Yeah, right
said,
there.
Nope, I'm good. I'm done. That's it.
So Tranq looks like he's going to pick up a couple potions here just for safety. They got enough hearts, but can't go wrong with an extra blue potion. And I think he'll be right. He'll be heading right into the Turtle Rock just as Chisame is heading out, or within a few seconds.
Yeah, that potion trip, costing a few seconds, and I mean, you could say that Tranq's already behind by enough, but then at the same time, it's like, you kind of want those seconds. But Tranq, obviously, you got to play to your own strengths. He does not know what the situation is between him and Chisame. All he knows is, hey, if I die, it's going to suck a lot. So I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen. But Chisame heading into the Tranq fight, based on the execution we've seen on the other fights, I expect we're going to see a pretty rapid defeat of this boss.
Yeah, they have powder, they have the net, they can always catch some fairies if they need it. Half magic means they're probably not even going to run out of magic in any realistic case. So pushing might be overkill, but it's a comfort thing. It's a personal comfort thing.
Alright, Chisame finishing up the first phase, busting out a spin for the second phase, just needs 3 more slashes, and there you go. So, did get munched by Tranq once, but otherwise, a very clean fight. We'll finish up, and Tiru. What time is it?
It is time for some people's favorite game. You can have the honors, Religion.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is the big key guessing game. There are 22 locations inside Ganon's Tower where the big key could be, and please go ahead and get your guesses in. If you are a subscriber or supporter of the Speed Gaming channels, having cheered 250 total bits, you are eligible to potentially be placed on the leaderboard if your guess is the closest. And it is a very quick guessing game today because we're going from Turtle Rock straight to the door of Ganon's Tower, which is right here. You just have the duration of this cutscene. In fact, if you're doing this at the time I'm talking right now, it's probably too late. Get your guess in.
I'm hoping for a behind an ice armor's chest this time. How about you?
I like an 8. I just like the number 8. Whatever that happens to be. I like the number 8, so let's go for that.
It's a nice symmetrical number.
Alright, Chisame is going to start on the right side here. And we'll see whether he decides to continue right if he gets that initial small key. Looks like he did not get the initial small key, so he won't. So 2 locations checked, nothing yet. But we'll continue on to the left. And Tranq, meanwhile, is working his way through the roller room in Turtle Rock. Unfortunately, going to need some very serious stuff to be able to win right now. And the fact that there's no keys there on the right side means he'll probably have to do like a Dark Magician route or something to be able to take a win here.
Yeah, that's why I picked ice armors, because I wanted either full left or full right to both be pretty close.
Alright, so number 4 having a small key, 5 was bombs. Chisame already preparing for the inevitable reality that he'll have to continue further into the dungeon, so he's killing these stealthos, and he finds that he does, because it's only keys and items in here.
So 7 down, no good items, and no big key. Number 8, double firebar.
Yeah, man, let's go. Number 8 is a small key. Alas, it's the wrong kind of key.
I'm holding out hope for ice armors, because I picked 3 chests instead of 1.
It's cheating, man. But I'll
I didn't play the bot, so it's not actually cheating.
No, commentators get to cheat. That's our privilege.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'm going to pick another number. I'm going to go with 11.
That's the entirety of our compensation package, is we get to make 3 guesses instead of 1.
Alright, well, number 9, not in either, so we go into Randomizer room, and that's going to be 10 through 13.
come on, lucky 11. It's your second chance.
Not 10. It's not 11.
Not 11. What's your third guess?
Not 12. It's not 13. So, all right, you have a pretty good shot at ISO roast now, but could also be on that right side, in which case DM play would help out. But then again, boy, as we're going along here, the lead that Chisame has built looks very, very substantial. So actually, I would even be surprised if Ganon's tower routing difference could make this up right now. She's playing incredibly well and not giving Tranq any chance to catch up, really.
What's your third key guess, Villagen?
Let's go with Bob. I forget the number already. 14. It's 14, right? Man.
Yeah, not your day.
All right, well, it's 3 strikes and you're out. So here we go. Ice Armor is coming up for Chisame with the silver arrows. This will be a much more straightforward fight than otherwise. It does get a little bit softened up by that 1 armors, but not a big deal. Oh no. Oh no. The fight's getting away from me. All right, there you go.
It's a little tough on the ice. Not vanilla. Oh, come on. Shovel.
Nope. Alright, so it's not 15, 16, or 17, so it's one of the chests on the right side, either 18 through 21 in the compass room, or number 22 potentially in the tower room, everyone's favorite in chat.
One of the very few scenarios where a Stalfos room first strategy would actually have paid off.
Yep. Could absolutely have been the play in this scene. But we'll see. We'll see what Tranq plays off as he gets started on phase 2 of Trinex and gets in his 5 slashes. He's done with that fight, but Chisame is still already all the way here on the right side. Boy, one of the only things that could save Tranq right now is literally going directly to tower room, but he can't because there's no key on the right side.
Yeah, and I'm still hoping it's not tower room.
Yeah, that's the worst, dude.
There we go.
There it is. Number 18 is the big key. Chisame will collect an extra key here as well, so he doesn't have to kill the Helmosaurs later, and then he'll head up the tower.
And Tranq's right about to come into the bottom of the tower. Based on the routing, could save a little bit of time here, but it's, it's not an optimal route to take.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm stupid, and tower room doesn't require a key. It's the room after tower room that requires a key.
That is a good point. I had forgotten that.
Fortunately, we've got smart people in the chat to help us out on things like that. But here we go, the Mimics. Good strats by Chisame, able to take them out quickly, using the silver arrows, 1 apiece. Not too much, not even that much faster than doing them with regular arrows, but just makes that nice little quality of life thing. And a nice dash without touching the spikes there as well, so very well done. Chisame's already into Ganon Ball Z.
About to start the gauntlet, and I wouldn't feel bad, Villagen, that neither of us knew tower room didn't need a key. That just means that neither of us take incredibly bad gambles.
I'm telling you, dude, if I end up in a tight situation in the bracket, I will absolutely do stupid gambles. And tower room first is one of them that's on my mind.
Well, I'm sure Willard will appreciate that choice.
Most likely. Good old 5% gamble. Tranq did go to Hope Room first, and he's going to continue to the Stalfos room. We'll see if he opts to double back, but I would be surprised if he did.
Killing the Stalfos is not a good sign.
Yeah, so he's going to continue. And he'll take the same amount of time in this section of Ganon's Tower. Chisame threw the gauntlet with very clean execution, only really lost significant time in 1 room and not even that much. Takes out the land molars pretty quickly, rocking 3.5 hearts right now, which is a little bit of a scary situation. I'm sure he thinks that he can't afford any stops right now, but hopefully for him, there's not too much dangerous stuff left here. He'll be able to get up to the room before Moldorm 2 and collect those 2 anti-fairies.
Yeah, nothing really hurts you in between the Lamo 2 and the anti-fairy room. Doesn't even pick up that fairy, though.
Wow, yeah, no, I'm sure he's thinking, I can't believe Tranq hasn't done yet, but my god, he must be like right there, which means I have to go. And that might play against him depending on, you know, if he makes any like nerve mistakes here. Now, so far he hasn't here. He's been playing incredibly calm.
This has been extremely clean execution, but you're right that the nerves have got to be high, and I imagine he's just managing to cope with them at this point.
I'm very impressed. I mean, it's really hard if you're at this point in an elimination match, and Chisame, this is his first tournament action, actually. He hasn't participated in a randomizer tournament before, so this is his first time being in one of these, and he has shown nerves of steel at the end of this race, and it's just been, frankly, god-awful. This seed has been garbage in more ways than one, and, you know, it's nearing the 2-hour mark, and he's still able to be pretty calm, and is getting a little bit roughed up by Moldorm too, but doesn't get knocked off, and that's all that matters.
Well, you know, Tranq, he did the fall secondary tournament, and then Chisame, and like you know, like as you pointed out in the beginning, Chisame, you know, he started this tournament. He only started playing this in January, and then he started this tournament and had 2 losses right off the bat. So, you know, he's felt like he's been on the bubble the entire time he's been playing this game.
Yeah, that hasn't stopped him yet. He got 5 straight wins to wrap up the Swiss, and he has the opportunity to get his 6th straight win here and take a 1-0 lead if he's able to have a good Ganon fight and a good Aghanim 2 fight. As I say that, he gets no shots on that cycle thanks to some pretty annoying positions and a blue ball. But gets 2 more on this one, just needs 2 more shots. There's one, there's the other. He'll be
very nice.
The Ganon fight.
Very nice, Aghanim 2. It's really neat to think that this will be the very first time in his entire tournament life that he's had a safety win, you know, in his column.
That's very true. He'll be able to take some solace in knowing that he has got that 1-0 lead. He'll have a game to give. Again, assuming that he doesn't make any major mistakes on Ganon, but boy, he has a ton of time to give here too. So even if he gets nervous and has some really bad spaghetti, he has got some room to spare here.
Yeah, he can take a death, and his execution has just been so excellent. Even when he tried to die, you know, the fairy wouldn't let him. So I just don't see a death happening.
That is great execution of the 1 cycle first phase. And now, will he be able to get the 1 cycle second phase as well? He's gonna bust out the cape and try for that. But hold it off. Very nice. If you can do that execution properly, that 1+1 as they call it, is as fast as having the gold sword on this fight. So not losing any time due to having that tempered sword. That is fantastic execution by Chisame, showing us he didn't need any more items to do this fight safely.
Well, it's every, I mean, it's 12 tempered sword slashes, but every one of the spins you get against the wall there does 2 spins. So that's 4 of your 12 slashes taken care of. So, and you got a couple of those spins in.
All right, here we go. It's just 4 arrows left, separating Chisame from this victory. There is the first one. Just gonna light up the torch. Gets the torch glitch. This great setup for a double. There it is. GG to Chisame. He is walking away with a victory today. Going to cross the bridge into the Triforce room. He will finish up shortly with a Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 1 second.
GG to Chisame. That was an amazing run. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Very great execution on his part. Tranq, for his part, not having much worse, just really getting roughed up by the Bombos medallion at the end, but boy, it was practically identical scenarios the entire way, other than that one thing. And that ended up being the deciding play, basically. So Chisame wrapping up a 1-0 lead in this seed, and now we are hopefully going to be able to grab him for a chat if he's available. We're going to work on getting that arranged as we watch Tranq finish up the remainder of Ganon's Tower. Unfortunately, not able to get those clean shots on the second and third landmowers. They're The jumps are just being a little awkward for him, but he's going to go ahead and switch to Gold Sword. Where did he pick that up?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him, but we do have Chisame available to join us now. GG's Chisame.
GG's. Oof.
Yeah, that's a good description.
I can't believe Ganon was hiding all the money. Actually, all the money.
Yeah, money was an interesting problem in this scene, and you guys nearly got thoroughly ruined by it. Both of you had that exact same problem. What were you thinking about Zora that entire scene? Because eventually it got to a point where it just seemed a little bit ridiculous.
I mean, you saw me go back into Thieves Town for one chest. Green Pendant Thieves Town. I was like, it's hammerlocked, right? There's no way that's Zora. Progression's gotta be hammerlocked. Ugh. I guess not.
Oh man, I just
Zora was amazing.
For Zora. I've never seen that. Oh man. So you know, overall though, like this seed was really troll with a number of different things like that. The Hammer and Ice Palace, the Mirror on Zora, the Bombos Medallion being the required thing for Turtle Rock inside of Spike Cave. Like, what goes through your mind when you're in the middle of a seed like this? It's an hour 50 in. You know, all you know is your opponent hasn't finished yet either. What were you thinking? Like, what kind of concerns did you have? Were you feeling confident? Were you feeling nervous? You know, what were you experiencing?
So I lose if they Houlihan. That's about it. That was going through my mind the whole time. I could not remember where I got Bombos, actually. My mindset was, oh, I have all 3 medallions. I don't have to check Turtle Rock. Oh, hookshot. I guess I'll go to Swamp now.
Oh
I did not even remember where Bombos was.
That was convenient.
Incredible. I mean, you made that play to Spike Cave at the exact moment that you got access to the hammer and had the opportunity to do all of you know, the blacksmith, the purple chest, like all that stuff. And instead you opted to go to Spike Cave. Like, what was the you know, decision behind that?
So my last race had something in Spike Cave. My race before that had something in Spike Cave. What are the chances?
Oh my god, this interview is killing me, dude.
Yeah.
I love this.
But I gotta know, not Spike Cave, but I want to know what made you go back to Misery Mire after going there once, doping out, and then saying, I'm going to go there again and check that item.
So all that was left at that point, I think, was Misery Mire. I just did the Hesmith chain, Thieves Town, and I think it was just Zora, right?
Yeah, Zora.
I did not want it to be Zora because I had no reason to farm rupees at all. I was hoping to pick up like a hundo or a 3 hundo between either Thieves Town Big Chest or cutscene / Diddy before going to Zora. It didn't happen.
Tranq, presently working on his Ganon fight. He is just about done, just getting the last slashes in on phase 3 to move on to phase 4, so he can put his 4 arrows into the pig and call it a day. But wow, I'm just cracking up because there's so many, you know, there's so many times in the seed where, you know, you get like the nice seed where you're like, oh yeah, you know, I had the read, I knew that the place to go was like pod, and I went there and it had the thing and I did it. And then in this scene, you're just like, oh yeah, no, I was trying to get rippies for Zora, so I went back to Zora for one. What kind of seed does it have to have been for that to be the case?
I mean, like I said earlier, at this point, if it's Zora, I've lost. So I have to play like it's not Zora. So what are the chances Tranq goes back into, I don't know, Thieves Town for 1 chest? Or like left side fire? It's not these. I guess I lost.
Alright, there's the double for Tranq. He will be finishing up in just a moment. Walk through the door behind Ganon, just about 5 minutes behind Chisame and Change.
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying about the you know, if it's Zora, I lost. When both of you guys are making the exact same judgment, though, I think you were like 20 seconds apart at Zora.
Yeah, that is definitely the case, with the difference being that Spike Cave play.
Yeah, that Spike Cave definitely made a difference.
So Tranq finishing up at 1 hour 58:51, according to Speed Racing TV. And unfortunately, going to go down 0-1 in this series to Chisame, but it's best of 3 because this is the bracket. So he does have another opportunity to even it back up. And again, we'll see if Tranq is going to be willing to hop in and join us here.
So Chisame, Villagin at the beginning of the race went through your record, and it was a really amazing record that got you here from Swiss, going 0-2 all the way through 5-2. You're at a point now where for the first time in your tournament career, you actually have a margin of error.
I didn't think about that. I thought I would be on the edge this whole time. I don't know how to feel about this.
Well, it's definitely got to be a nice position and a nice change of pace from having to, constantly be on the edge. We will be joined by Tranq right now. Tranq, thank you for joining us. GG on the race. Unfortunately, taking a loss here, but what are your thoughts on that very seed?
GG there, Chisame. That seed was something. It gave you a lot of progression early on, and then just deadlocked us behind that mirror with no money to buy it.
Yeah, that was a common problem, as you might have been able to find out from Chisame already. Both of you guys ending up at Zora at like the exact same moment. But tell us in your words, as you're thinking through what's going on at the seat at that point, did you have the ability to think like, oh my god, I must be so behind, or maybe I'm ahead because of how stupid this was? Or were you just like, oh my god, what's happening? I can't process thoughts right now?
I felt a little bit behind, but not too much, just because of how money poor the seed was, where I figured the only way that he would be ahead at that point would be if he had Houlihan really early and went to Zora a lot earlier on.
That's exactly what I was thinking you did.
Oh my god, that's so good, dude. A lot of it came down to those last couple items. Of course, Turtle Rock ended up being Bombos, and kind of the key play, and I'll reveal this now for you, Tranq, and then you can tell us about your thoughts, was that Chisame, during the last bits of cleanup that you both did every last bit of, he went to Spike Cave before doing Blacksmith, Hammer Pegs, etc., all that stuff. So he got that Bomber's Medallion. I'm wondering, when you got to that point, and that was the last item remaining for you, and you did go to Spike Cave and get it, what did you think at that point, and what did you think about your decision process to get there?
At that point in time, I just wanted to clear up the rest of Death Mountain, because I knew Bombos had to either be on Bombos Tablet in Spike Cave or within Swamp Palace. I knew it was one of those three. I figured I was already up on Death Mountain, so I'd check that location there with hopes I can go mode Swamp.
That makes a lot of sense. We were talking about your options there, and Chisame didn't even clear the rest of Death Mountain after getting the hook shot. Not having that Bombos medallion, made you have to do a few more chests up there. But being able to pick that up and avoid having to full clear Swamp made this race pretty close in the end.
Well, that was, I'll just, not to understate it, that was a heck of a race between you two. The deficit really kind of, I think, overstates how tight it actually was. It was really close. 5 minutes does not necessarily reflect that, but the last little bit of Rando at the end got its word in. So probably a good time to wrap it up. We got tons of other action for people to watch, but we'll go to some closing thoughts. Tranq, of course, you're going down 0-1. What are your thoughts about that, and how do you plan to approach your next race?
Probably approach it much the same way as this one. Just be as almost thorough as possible. Hopefully, don't make any mistakes, and just play solid execution overall.
Well, that did pretty well for you today, so I certainly would not fault you for continuing that exact plan. And Chisame, for your part, are you going to change anything up, or are you just going to go, you know, maintain course?
Last 3 races, Spike Cave had something for me. I'm going to keep checking it.
Nice.
Well, there you go, Tranq. That's some intel on your opponent. You know he's going to check Spike Cave now.
Note to self, check Spike Cave first.
All right, well, congratulations to both of you, but Chisame, congrats on moving to 1-0. Tranq, of course, best of luck in the next race as well. We've got so much action. I'm going to scroll up real quick in this chat because Signal C was kind enough to post some stuff. Dustsen versus Ajneb going on Game 2 on Speed Gaming 4 right now. Senhi versus Pink Kitty Rose starting on Speed Gaming 1. In an hour, we're going to have Yagamoth versus Jet on, I believe, Speed Gaming 3. Yep. So lots of good stuff. But for now, that's been it for us. Tiru, been a pleasure joining you. And, you know, feel free to wrap it up for us here.
Absolutely. I'll just add one more that was on the schedule there at 4:30 Eastern Time. Sorry, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. There's Alminster versus Scienti on Speed Gaming 5. And that was the schedule for the next 2 hours. I'll wrap it up, and as always, you know, thank both of the runners for, you know, this was really fun to watch. Chisame and Tranq 89. There are links in the Speed Gaming chat. Check out their channels. They have another race coming up, race 2, and if we're really lucky, a race 3, because this has been absolutely fun to watch. We got our thanks to the staff of the Speed Gaming channel for putting on this tournament, our tracker OSS Geek for taking care of everything, and personally, it's been really fun doing cook-ons with you, Villagen. What a pro. It's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, dude. Yep. I've had similar feelings. It was funny that we joked right before the bracket, like, man, you know, let's do some commentary together in the bracket. That was literally the first day, so there you go. But have a good night,
Absolutely.
everyone. Thank you
good night, guys.
for watching, and keep watching more Rando.